Welcome to the Bank First Ranger Hour. Super Talk Mississippi 93.7 Spotlight on Northwest Community College. And you can listen to our live stream at supertalknorthms.com. Just click on the link for the Bank First Ranger Hour. Now, here's your host, Gary Darby.
Let's do this show. It is a Thursday, and on Thursdays, Bank First helps us power some discussion all around Northwest Community College. We can do a lot of different things, talking about academics. We talk about different things going on, let's just say at the Heindel Center this weekend, or men's soccer, because that's where we are on the program today. Coming up in the next segment, we will talk with Lance Burton. Lance Burton, master magician and friends at the Heindel Center for the Performing Arts this weekend on Saturday. Lance scheduled to join us. We'll meet him over the airwaves. We'll talk about his past. We'll get you ready for what you might be able to witness and see if you can figure out what goes on with Lance Burton, master magician and friends, Saturday at the Heindel Center. When we're done, it will be men's soccer coach Michael Sullivan. He'll be back on and join us, and we'll chat with him about the upcoming men's soccer season, which it gets underway tomorrow, in fact. So that's what we'll do. We will introduce and meet Lance Burton, and then we will chat again with men's soccer coach Michael Sullivan, who has steadily watched his team progress. Now they're bigger goals, more wins, obviously, and things to try and do. And it all begins with the schedule tomorrow on the road in Fulton, Mississippi, but playing Northeast Alabama. We'll tell you about all of that, the schedule, and more as it all rolls along here today. 662-426-1093 to get in touch with the program again. Today it is all Northwest Community College as we're getting ready and geared up for the new academic year and things. We will continue to have guests talking with us about that particular stuff, right? We've talked about all kinds of classes and things and when to register, when orientation and all of the things are concerned. What you need to do if you have any questions or things academically, because today we're going to talk magic and we're going to talk soccer on the program, it's go to northwestms.edu, northwestms.edu, where you can catch up with all of the different things that are going on in the academic world, find out about the programs, find out about admissions, financial aid, whatever it is you might need to get ready, no matter your age, to get that education started at Northwest Community College. Master Magician Lance Burton. He'll join us on the other side. We'll talk about the act that will be coming to Senatobia and the Heindel Center on Saturday. And then when we're done with that discussion, men's soccer coach Michael Sullivan. That's our program today, the Bank First Ranger Hour.
This hour is everything Northwest. Your connection to Northwest Mississippi Community College and powered by Bank First. Thanks for joining us on the Bank First Ranger Hour. Join the conversation now by texting 662-426-1093.
Lance Burton and friends, a mix of illusions, sleight of hand, audience participation, amazing guest stars. That's what I read about what we will have at the Heindel Center for the Performing Arts on Saturday, a Las Vegas show suitable for the whole family. And the man, Lance Burton, master magician, on phone with me. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Gary, how are you today?
I think we're good. Is that an accurate description of what will happen on Saturday? We'll get more into it maybe later on, but a little bit of everything and all family friendly, and we all get to participate.
Yes, that's it exactly. This show, well, for those who followed my career, I spent the majority of my career, 30 years performing in Las Vegas at the Tropicana Hotel for 9 years, then the Hacienda Hotel for 5 years, and then the final 14 years at the Monte Carlo Hotel. So the show, I'm doing kind of a mix of kind of my greatest hits, of illusions and sleight of hand magic and audience participation magic, and then I bring my buddies along with me. So the name of the show is Lance Burton, Master Magician and Friends, but it's also a very accurate description because these really are some of my closest friends in the world that are out with me. And we don't do that many shows, but maybe we'll go out once a month and do a show or two. So it's a nice retirement program.
Good for you. Let me ask you this, because when Northwest and they send me some of the guests that will be on stage, and we have had ventriloquists, we have had other comedians, and all, maybe not all, but some got their start with Johnny Carson. And that's a story for you too. As a person old enough to remember and watched Johnny and enjoyed that nighttime show, the Tonight Show, he had his hand in so many different things and so many different careers. I don't know if we could count the number of people that he influenced in the business of entertainment.
Oh, absolutely. And the Tonight Show under Johnny Carson's regime, under his hosting the show, broke more new talent than any television show in the history of the world. And they took great pride in that, in presenting a new comedian or a young new magician or writer or actor. That was really part of their DNA. But you have to remember, this was back when there were only 3 networks.
Right.
So there wasn't this competition back then, but with streaming and cable, and everybody had a late night show. But and coincidentally, that you mentioned Johnny Carson, this year would have been Johnny Carson's 100th birthday.
Wow.
And in October, which Johnny's birthday falls on, I am going to his home state of Nebraska. And in Lincoln, Nebraska, there at the university, we're doing a special show, and I will be performing on it. But it's not just me, but it's other guys, other acts that also got their start on the Tonight Show. And we're doing a special show in honor of Johnny's 100th birthday. So that I'm looking forward to that in October. But Johnny, I made my first appearance on the Tonight Show on October 28th, 1981, 44 years ago.
And when, the thing is, as I've read different things about you, Lance, and we're talking with Lance Burton, Master Magician, he and his friends coming to Senatobia, he gave you 12 minutes of time on the program.
Yeah.
Think about that. People think about that. You're talking about the variety show and the things that were, and Lance, you got 12 minutes.
That was, and I was told that was the record of any act on the Tonight Show. And that was Johnny personally, because what happened was I was 21 years old at the time. And I was booked on this show out in Los Angeles, my first time in Los Angeles. First time on the West Coast. I drove out there from Kentucky, just me and my doves I had in the car, and we drove. It took us 3 days to get out to California. We drove out there, and they had me booked for the Tonight Show. Well, the talent coordinator for the Tonight Show came to see me the night before I was to appear on the show, to see the act, to make sure he hadn't booked a turkey. Because that's a good way to get fired in the television business. And so after the show, he came backstage to see me, and he said, "Oh yeah, that was very good, and come over tomorrow morning at the rehearsal at Burbank Studios." And he says, "How long is your act?" And I said, "It's 12 minutes." He says, "Well, you can't do 12 minutes on the Tonight Show, but bring the whole act and do it in rehearsal, and then we'll figure out what part you're going to do on the broadcast. And I said, yes, sir. And I showed up the next morning, and I did the rehearsal. And then about 2 minutes after I was done with the rehearsal, I'm standing on stage, still in costume, and I see this hand coming towards me, out of the corner of my eye. And I look up, and I reach out, and I shake the hand. And then I look up, and I notice it's Johnny Carson on the end of the hand. So here I am meeting Johnny Carson, and he was very nice, very complimentary. And we only spoke for a minute or two, and he left. And then the talent coordinator came back and said, hey, Lance, Johnny was watching your rehearsal, and Johnny loved the act. Johnny said, let the kid do the whole 12 minutes.
Awesome.
And so they put me on as the first guest that night, which is the prime spot. He let me do the whole 12 minutes. Johnny gave me a second bow, and I never noticed this till years later. He refused to look at the camera at the end of my act, and he kept looking at me and applauding. So he forced the director to cut back to me to get a second bow. And then the next guest was Dick Cavett. And Johnny Carson and Dick Cavett sat on the panel and talked about me for the next segment. So it was the greatest launching pad that any young entertainer ever had. So I'm always grateful to Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show and what they did for me launching my career.
I know you mentioned this when we got started, but how long again were you in Vegas?
I was in Las Vegas working there for 30 years. I was my first job there, which came directly from that first appearance on The Tonight Show, was in the Folie Bergère at the Tropicana Hotel. And I opened there in 1982, and I was there in that show for 9 years. And then I opened my own show, and it was called Lance Burton World Champion Magician, and that was at the Hacienda Hotel, and I was there for 5 years. And then I moved to the brand new, at the time, Monte Carlo Hotel, and I was there 14 years at that hotel. And then I retired in 2010, and I moved back to my home state of Kentucky in 2020, and I'm here on the farm. This is where farm was my grandfather's farm. He bought back in the 1930s, and I built a house here about 25 years ago. And so I'm looking out over the fields and the cows, and
nice.
It's great to be back home.
But you get now a couple of times a year, as you said, to get out and do things. So my question is, you were doing these acts day after day after day, and I believe the story is when you first got started, it was 7 days a week.
Yeah, yeah, it was two shows a night, 7 days a week. The first 2 years in Las Vegas,
wow.
I worked 2 years straight, no days off. And then finally we got a 6-day work week. And that was because of Siegfried and Roy, by the way. They were the first show to get a 6-day work week. And the way they did it, their contract came up for renewal. They were at the Frontier Hotel. And so they went to the hotel and said, well, the animals cannot work 7 days a week because they get very tired. So we will work. Okay, we're fine, but it's the animals. So they got a 6-day work week, and then over the course of the following year, every show went to a 6-day work week. And yes, I did. I was doing back then, 500 to 600 shows a year, and I did that for 30 years. And last year, I think I did 25 shows.
Much better.
But now at this stage in my life, what the best part of the show for me is? It's after the show. Because we always go out into the lobby after the show and do meet and greets. And usually we're out there for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, depending on, how many people want to stay. And we talk to people and take photos and sign autographs. And I'm hearing these amazing stories from people. And sometimes now it's the second and third generation of people. For instance, last year we were up in Washington State, and this guy comes up to me in the meet and greets after the show, and he says, Lance, when I was 8 years old, my mom brought me to Las Vegas to see your show. We went on vacation, and I came up onto the stage during the show for your vanishing birdcage trick, and I put my hand on top of the cage and held the cage, and it disappeared while I was touching it. And he says, and here's my daughter. She's 8 years old. She came up on stage tonight and put her hand on the cage. And here's my mom who brought me to see you 25 years ago. So that is, to me, that's the best part now, because I'm reconnecting with people who, came to the show 25 years ago, and they're telling me these stories, and it really meant something to them. They remembered that moment. That was a big moment in this guy's childhood, and so to be able to reconnect and hear those kind of things, that's really the best part of my job.
Well, we'll leave it this way. When you get there on Saturday to the Heindel Center, I know we can't give away the act and what you're doing, but we just need the audience to know you're going to participate and be involved in what's going on, correct?
Yeah, I love doing the audience participation parts of the show. I guess those are my favorite parts, because the big illusions, and I do all of this. I do the big illusions, I do sleight of hand magic, and those generally run the same every show. But to me, the wild card in the show is the audience participation, because that's always a little different every night. You don't have control over what people are going to do or say, especially kids. And I like to involve a lot of the kids in the show.
Well, we thank you for your conversation. Boy.
My pleasure, and thank you so much. And by the way, this is going to be my first time performing in Mississippi.
Well, we'll treat you right. We'll bring you. You're a Southerner too now. You're from Kentucky, so
That's right. That's right. I was born and raised in the South, and I love being back, and I love now going to new places, and every time I do a show, it's opening night, and I love. I did my career backwards. Most entertainers travel around the country for 10 or 20 years, and then they get a residency in Las Vegas. Well, I did mine completely backward. I opened in Las Vegas at 22 years old, and now I get to go out and see the rest of the country. So I'm proud to be able to come to Mississippi.
Well, we look forward to seeing you on Saturday night. Safe travels down here, and can't wait to see the act. Thanks, Lance.
Thanks, Gary. Good talking to you.
Lance Burton, Master Magician, with us this morning. His friends will be there as well at the Heindel Center for the Performing Arts on Saturday. You can go to heindelcenter.org, heindelcenter.org. Read more about it. 7:30 will be the start time. All kinds of things that will be going on. As he mentioned, illusions, sleight of hands, audience be prepared. There'll be some guest stars there with him. And he's basically bringing some of the highlights, as he said, of his Las Vegas shows of past years and putting them together with some of his friends doing different things. Sometimes they're comedians, sometimes they're jugglers. There's different. I mean, it's typically what you would think that you would see. And this is coming up on Saturday at 7:30 in Senatobia at the Heindel Center. Lance Burton making his first appearance, as he says, in the state of Mississippi. Let's welcome him Saturday night. Heindel Center for the Performing Arts, 7:30 is showtime. And then, as he mentioned, he likes to do the meet and greet afterwards, so you can have a good, fun, family-friendly night on Saturday in the five-star city on the Northwest campus. We will talk men's soccer next. Coach Michael Sullivan on the other side.
Thanks for listening to the Bank First Ranger Hour, your connection to Northwest Mississippi Community College on SuperTalk Mississippi 93.7 and streaming live at supertalknorthms.com. Just click on the link for the Bank First Ranger Hour.
Please do. Podcast form later on today. If you missed any of the discussion with Lance Burton, Master Magician, He and his friends coming to Senatobia on Saturday. You can go back and catch that podcast. You can listen to everything we were talking about. And just know that coming up in September, the Spinners are on the 3rd. And for you Crowder fans, he is still scheduled to make his September 14th date in Senatobia. Crowder broke his leg, and he canceled a couple of events, but he is still on the way to Senatobia, they tell us. All right, no broken. Let's move on. Let's get into it with our friend, Coach Michael Sullivan, men's soccer coach at Northwest. How are we doing today?
Oh, doing good. Hope everything is good in your part of the world.
I think so. It's here for all of us, right? Your season actually begins tomorrow, and we'll get into that a little bit. But, Coach, let's start here. You take over the program, and we are steadily seeing, more wins in that number improve in the left-hand column year by year as you get there. Let's now look at this season and discuss wins, losses, goals, things of that nature, and where you hope this version of your team finishes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think every coach, no matter what sport they're coaching, I think every coach would say that they want better and better and better, right? So, obviously we're looking to improve not only in the wins column, but in every single column possible, whether that's academics or whether that's community involvement, or whether that's just kind of getting the name out as to how the program's growing, I think, one thing I'm excited about for this year is just the group of returners we have worked really, really hard over not only last fall, but over the spring. And there's been a bunch of players that have really kind of developed into people that can not only help us on the field, no doubt, but just overall people who can help the culture kind of push in the way that we want it to go. The hard workers, the when adversity comes, put your head down and kind of push through it type of people. So I'm definitely excited about that. And with the guys returning combined with the guys coming in, I think we've got higher talent than, we've had since I've been here. So I'm excited to see how we kind of all put it together and turn it into what I know it can be.
What have you seen in the exhibition matches? Because you've had 2, correct?
Yes.
How did those go for the head coach?
I think, again, every coach could look at every single game and say, well, this could be better, or that's kind of where we expected it to be. There's definitely, I'll compare it to last year. I'll say this. I think we definitely recognize some areas. We definitely recognize some areas that we want to improve in. But I definitely, without a doubt, can say that we're starting on a higher note. So, where coaches are frustrated, maybe things can improve in certain areas. I'm super excited just because, again, we're starting on a higher ring on the ladder than we did last year. And that's kind of the tale for me that things are moving in the right direction. I don't know if any coach can look at their first couple of games and say, "Yep, that's what I wanted."
You're correct. I understand. Coach Michael Sullivan's with us, men's soccer coach at Northwest. So with that roster, I guess we have to be pretty well set, right? First match tomorrow, but a lot of new faces that we'll see out on the pitch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've got things kind of set in stone where we know who we're going with, and obviously, there's still room for people to pick up more time here and there just based off what they earn. But tomorrow I think things are very solidified as to what we want the game to look like for us and how we want to approach the game. And I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about is I think we're going to be approaching games a little bit different than we have in the past. Can't give away all my secrets, but
sure.
I'm excited about how I envision us being able to approach some of these games.
All right, so one thing we know is we need somebody in that net that can do his best to keep it out of the net. What can you tell us about your goalkeeper this season?
Well, so we have one returning goalkeeper, and we have one freshman goalkeeper that's coming in. Our returner is Jacob Little, and he's in the past just been a rock for us. not only is he really good at keeping us in games, but he's really good just, in the locker room. He's really good in the life kind of outside of the field. He's kind of one of those glue guys. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so we're excited about him having a full season under his belt and kind of seeing what else he can bring and add. And then I'll tell you this, our freshman keeper coming in, his name is Twain Voges Hops. He's actually a brother of a player that graduated from us last year. I've been really impressed with some of just the natural abilities and athleticism that he has in practice, and I'm excited to see what he can grow into, especially, having the leadership of kind of Jacob in the mix and kind of giving him the older, wiser kind of, how-tos and tips. I think it's going to be a fight. I don't think either one of those is really kind of set in stone. So I'm excited to see that push from kind of the younger bull to the older bull type mentality.
So you mentioned, your schedule a little bit and how challenging before you get into, the conference world is this. Most coaches like to challenge themselves. And so how difficult will this to kind of traverse a little bit early in the year?
Yeah, so I'm definitely the type of coach, I want to put some bumps in the road, right?
Sure.
I want to make sure that we play teams that are going to challenge us and test us. And, I don't want to go into any game and say that I know what the outcome's going to be, right? But I also want to go into every game and understand that we're about to get pushed in maybe a way that we might see in conference. I love playing four-year schools, right? I think it adds some older, wiser players to the mix, and kind of let our players see, what that intensity and what that physicality is like. Because it really is kind of a shock for players once they leave, the kind of the high school game and they move kind of into the collegiate game. We're not professional players, but we're, right there at the edge of it. Kids trying to learn how to be, or young adults, trying to learn how to be professional-like. So I think being able to play those older teams is a really good test for us. So, I'd like to say I know what's happening this preseason, and in a way I can, in the fact that we're going to be tested. I'm excited to see what bumps we can find and what bumps we can overcome.
Northwest Mississippi against Northeast Alabama tomorrow at 2 in Fulton at the ICC Soccer Complex. About 100 miles for you to drive. Living in Huntsville, Alabama for a while, I realized that they're over near Fort Payne, so they got about a 3-hour haul to get there, but kind of meeting somewhat in the middle. Best of luck in that one tomorrow. What can you tell us, if anything, about the opponent tomorrow in Fulton?
Well, I know they're going to be organized. I know they're going to have athletes. They haven't gotten any games yet, but I can tell you that it's going to be a test. And just from talking with the coach, he's a no-nonsense kind of guy, so I'm expecting a pretty hard-nosed battle.
Excellent. Good luck with the season upcoming. We'll follow along and watch is this season 3 or 4 for you?
Going into season 4.
Going into season 4. Best of luck, Coach. Thanks for being with us this morning, and we'll have you on in the end when the playoffs are going on, and we can talk about all that kind of stuff.
All righty. I look forward to it, and I really appreciate you having me, and go Rangers.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Michael Sullivan with us, men's soccer. They had a couple of exhibitions, as he mentioned, played Blue Mountain and Wallace State Huntsville, both in Senatobia, and now they will meet that Northeast Alabama team tomorrow at 2, and as I mentioned, Northwest, the shorter drive, the college they're playing is, I think it's Rainville, Alabama, near Fort Payne, on the opposite side of the state of Alabama. So they'll meet up, and then there will be a trip to Belhaven, to Conway, Arkansas, a couple of times to play Hendricks, and then Central Baptist College before Belhaven and National Park come to Senatobia for the first regular season matches of the year. The first home match in the regular season is Belhaven on a Tuesday, September 9. Conference play begins on the 14th against East Mississippi. And already looking at the schedule, Hinds is ranked number 19 in men's soccer, Pearl River number 8, Gulf Coast number 12, Jones number 13. Soccer, both men and women, well, look, it's every sport. We say it with every Northwest coach we talk to. Athletics in the state of Mississippi on this community college level, national players, without a doubt, in every sport. Every year, Coach Sullivan and team have gotten better. And now they will get started, as he said, in year number 4 tomorrow. You can follow along with the results and everything at nwccrangers.com. nwccrangers.com. I want to remind you that Monday night, 7 o'clock, is Meet the Rangers night. It's free. It's open to the public. It will be at Ranger Stadium, again starting at 7. Northwest will recognize members of the rodeo, the volleyball team, the football program, of course, about ready to start their season. Both soccer teams, cheerleaders, dance teams, national champions there. And then the largest Ranger marching band in history. And they'll kind of do a little preview of their upcoming halftime show with the dance team and the cheer squad. And the 223-member Ranger band will be there with you as well. Volleyball, we had Coach Burchett on recently. They're getting ready to get into the swing of things. They, too, will be in Fulton tomorrow and Saturday with the Mississippi-Alabama crossover tournament. So Northwest kind of taking over ICC tomorrow. And then you have the women's soccer squad. We've had Coach Beatty on. They'll be traveling prior to this weekend. They're out in Indiana and then coming back for Meet the Rangers on Monday. Rodeo will be there. Football season opens up at Pearl River on Thursday of next week. So many things to get to and do. You want to find all of that information out, go to nwccrangers.com. So we thank Lance Burton, we thank Coach Sullivan, and we thank you for being a part of our program today. Another Bank First Ranger Hour now in the books. Don't forget, you can catch this in podcast form later this afternoon. Anywhere you go to find podcasts, the Ranger Hour will be there. Click on it. Look up Bank First Ranger Hour. We will be there. Thank you for being here. So long.
Now the time has come for leaving. Fear, now we shall return. We were so glad we could make it, but so